Kevin Henry here, and in this week's episode, I'm joined by a man I have the utmost respect for, Randy Jones. Randy has over 30 years in law enforcement, a guy whose name you bring up in a room full of cops, and the word that always follows is integrity. Frankly, the world needs more officers like him. Now, what Randy's about to share, it'll blow your mind. A corrupt district attorney tried to frame him and rumored attempts to plant dope in his vehicle because he wouldn't play ball. A tragic accident twisted into a political hit job. And meanwhile, the so-called leaders let our county rot from the inside out. Game rooms, drugs, cover-ups, and sex scandals across this county. We're talking about sheriffs who preach integrity and swim in scandal. Elected officials backed by felons, and communities terrorized while leadership turns a blind eye. If you think this county is safe, think again. Randy Jones is proof that real lawmen still exist, and he's not pulling any punches. So buckle up, hit that like and subscribe button, and let's get into it. No one is above the law. The people have had enough. We will root out the criminals and expose them all. We're fighting to expose the criminal element in Texas. Our investigation in the Brazoria County's justice system has just begun.
And now, your host, Kevin Henry.
Welcome to the show, Randy Jones.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. What county are you in now?
Rockwall County, the smallest county in the state. Population is a little over 100,000. It's only a 12-mile by 12-mile county on the northeast side of Dallas. It's a beautiful county right on Lake Ray Hubbard, and been here about 15 years now. The time has flown by.
Got you. And prior to you going there, you grew up and born and raised in Brazoria County, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Graduated from Columbia High School in '83, along with some other great folks, and joined Texas Highway Patrol. I was a trooper there, corporal, sergeant, and promoted to lieutenant in 2010. And I had choice between Dallas or El Paso, so I landed in Dallas.
So when you were here in Brazoria County, where did you started off DPS?
Yes. My law enforcement career started with Texas Highway Patrol.
Basically, when you left here, you were sergeant, and then you got promoted to lieutenant, moving to Rockwall County, correct?
Yes, I was a sergeant there from 2001, I believe, to 2010.
So can you tell us about your tenure as being in the DPS in Brazoria County?
You know, Brazoria County is my home. I grew up there, lived there my whole life. Member of the church there in Brazoria for 45 years. It's a great place. I love the people of Brazoria County. I enjoyed working there. When I graduated from the academy, and they sent me back to Brazoria County, which is pretty unheard of at that time. They let me know that, Randy, we'll put you back in your hometown, but if you can't do your job in your hometown, we'll find someplace else for you. Well, I knew that some other place was going to be someplace I didn't like, so I wanted to make sure I did my job the way they trained me to do it, and that's and I've held true to that because I was being paid to do a job, and when you're being paid to do a job, you do your job the way you're supposed to.
Well, I got to tell you, I've talked to a lot of police officers, young and older, and I haven't heard a bad word about you. And in fact, when people do bring your name up, they bring up the word integrity often.
I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate that. It's something that you have to wake up every day and strive for. But if you want to hear some bad things about me, just talk to my wife. I mean, she'll spill the beans.
Right.
By no means am I perfect. I'm just a guy trying to live every day the way you're supposed to, and help other people, and live by God's word. And I'm just one person.
Absolutely. Well, tell us about the lead up to you moving out of Brazoria County. What inspired that transfer?
There's a lot of different things. Always opportunity for people in power do things that and make decisions that is not always necessarily illegal. It's not doing the right thing. And there were some situations and some issues in Brazoria County, and at that time I was having a difficult time with some of the current elected officials there in Brazoria County at that time, even being threatened. And DPS promoted me. Of course, I wanted the promotion,
So tell us about that. Tell us about the threatening. Who threatened you, and why was it?
And I don't shy away from it. I mean, it is what it is. It's sad more than anything. But at that current time, Jerry Yenny was the district attorney, and her and I had a disagreement over a major accident, and that accident was the one out on 2004 where the deputy Jason Olaf lost his life, unfortunately, in that accident. And we had a disagreement on the cause of the accident, or should there be charges filed in the accident. It got rather nasty. In my opinion, there should not have been charges filed on it. She ended up indicting the guy that hit the deputy. 2 years later, when she didn't have the evidence, and I knew there wasn't the evidence to support an indictment, she called me one day and said that I'm going to dismiss these charges, and we're going to blame it on a shoddy investigation, and you're going to support that. And I told her, I said, I'll never forget it. It was about 7 p.m. on a Monday. And when she called me, and I told her, I said, I can't support that. I said, well, the trooper that investigated is not with DPS anymore, and we're going to blame it on him. And I said, no, I can't support that. I'm not getting on that bandwagon. And she goes, well, there will be hell to pay if you don't. And I'm like, well, I want to stand on what's right. I'm not going to support sending somebody to jail or, conviction if it goes against my moral compass. And as a result, we had a disagreement and there was hell to pay. But to this day, I know that if I had to do over again, I would do it. I'm not going to sacrifice my moral compass under political pressure.
Randy, can you take us back to that accident and how this all came about? What was going on during
Yes, the deputy was working an off-duty job, and he got there that morning, and he's putting out some flares. He had a reflective safety vest, but he left it in his vehicle. So he had a dark brown uniform on, and he's out in the middle of the road and dropping some flares down, getting ready for morning traffic going to the Chocolate Bio plant. There was a string of cars coming from Galveston County, and the first one went to go turn right into the plant. Well, he's in the center median stripe. The vehicle behind him swerved to the left to go around the vehicle in front of him that's turning to the right, which is a very common action that vehicles do. Vehicle in front of you is going to turn right. You go a little bit to the left to go around them. And when he went to the left, he struck the deputy that was standing on the center stripe and killed him. As bad as it is, it's not something that you and I and anybody else hadn't done 1,000 times. And I didn't feel there was no alcohol involved. There's no drugs involved. And I did not feel that there was evidence to support a criminal conviction. Bottom line, it was an accident. And as sad as it is, I mean, the deputy contributed towards his own demise. I mean, he didn't have his traffic reflective vest on. That was in the back seat of his car. And the gentleman that struck him was going to work. But Jerry, the DA told me that if you hit an officer, you kill an officer in Brazoria County, you go to jail. And I didn't necessarily agree with that. And so when it come down, she got the conviction, and she filed numerous complaints on me.
She tried to get you indicted?
Oh, yes.
Because you didn't go along with her.
Absolutely. When she told me on the phone that there would be hell to pay, that's exactly what she meant. And DPS knew that any DA that's going to out to get somebody, eventually they will. They told me, well, test to promote. So I tested to promote, and I promoted. I had a sheriff's deputy, an investigator, called me one day during this and said, I'm going to pull around back of your office, step outside. I don't want anybody to know I'm there. I got to tell you something. And so I stepped out of my office, around to the back. He pulled up, just cracked his window just a little bit and said, don't ever leave your car unlocked. They're following you, and they'll plant dope in your car. Do not leave your vehicle unlocked. I said, well, I appreciate the heads up.
You felt like this was coming from a credible source?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a sheriff's office investigator.
Sheriff's office investigator was telling
Yes.
you, which you're at this point a sergeant in DPS,
Yes.
that the district attorney is planning on planting dope in your vehicle to have you brought up on charges.
He didn't say who was going to plant it, okay? But he said that it was going to be, that they're following me, and they're watching me, and they're going to catch me. They're going to catch me doing something, even if they have to plant it. And so I immediately contacted my supervisors. And I told them that you're not going to believe the conversations I've had. Austin was very well aware of the conversations and what was going on. The Brazoria Facts was running articles. I couldn't tell my side of the story. They said the state of Texas is not going to fight with the local county. And it's a no-win for us. If we fight with them verbally, then we're picking on a county. It makes us look bad no matter what. So I had a gag order on me, and I couldn't tell my side of the story. I was investigated. The traffic crash was investigated 9 lines of Sunday. It was inside and out. Everything about it was investigated. Investigating me, investigating what I did. Every aspect was
your
investigated.
role?
Not just the crash, but I was investigated. I was thoroughly investigated. My actions did they support having a DA coming after me or not? I got a written counseling out of it. There was one thing that come out of the investigation is that some of my subordinates had used my name stamp without my knowledge. And they had permission to use my name stamp, but they didn't let me know every time that they used it.
Kind of like the Joe Biden auto pin?
Yes. I knew that they were using it. If I went on vacation, some papers still had to be signed, still had to be stamped. And so it's not that I didn't know, just they didn't let me know each specific time. And
they had permission, though.
They had permission. And so I didn't. So I took a written counseling over it. The written counseling is not a reprimand. It's not a disciplinary action. It's not anything like. It didn't rise to that level. They wanted a copy. They tried every way in the world to get a copy of my written reprimand. I couldn't give it to them. I wanted to. I absolutely wanted to give a copy. It says, you know what? I've been investigated every which way that can be investigated. And this is the only thing that could be found from the accident to my actions to have a district attorney coming after me with out for blood. Are you kidding me? Just because I wouldn't go along blaming a trooper that wasn't there anymore. And I didn't really, I wasn't best buds with the trooper or anything. I mean, I respected him, but I wasn't going to blame it on him. I wasn't going to point blame. Blame should have been pointed right at the elected official that chose to seek an indictment without sufficient evidence. That's where the blame should be laid. So when she had to get the evidence dismissed, well, she had to point blame somewhere. She couldn't say that she made a mistake, And so who's the fall guy? Well, she wanted it to be the elected official. And I know this was 15 years ago. It's just a sign of how easily corruption can be made. And it's not just Brazoria County. There's corruption all over the state in some of those aspects, okay? When people lose sight of the job duties, when they lose sight of who they're working for, when they lose sight of justice, their moral compass gets off kilter. And most of the time, they don't have people around them that they'll listen to. They don't have somebody that'll come along beside them and say, hey, we need to rethink this, because you go against them, they fire you. I don't hold any grudges, any ill will. I mean, life is life.
Do you feel like the DA wields more power than the sheriff?
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you feel like the DA controls the sheriff and the actions of the sheriff's department?
Most DAs want to have control over the sheriff. Okay. Legally, the DA is the strongest arm of the judicial system in the county. The sheriff holds more power in some aspects because, like in my situation, here the sheriff's office, they wanted an indictment. One of their deputies got killed. They wanted somebody to pay for it. She even told me, that I'm not going to go against a 300-member sheriff's office over this. I'm not going to go against them. If they want somebody to go to jail, then somebody's going to go to jail, you know. And then when somebody couldn't because the evidence just wasn't there, somebody had to pay the price to satisfy the piranhas.
Was this Jason O'Leary? Was he DPS or was he sheriff's office?
He was sheriff's office.
Sheriff's. Okay, got you.
Yeah. Good deputy. He made a simple mistake that it was an accident. It was purely an accident, you know.
So it was an accident all the way around. The guy did not.
Yes, it was a bad situation. I've worked many bad situations, many accidents, numerous ones that you say, okay, we got 2 or 3 people dead over here. Somebody needs to go to prison. That's just not always the case. You have to step back and look at all the totality of all of it. And you can't go in saying, well, it's a police officer, somebody has to. No, police officers are human. We make mistakes just like everybody else, you know? And, I mean, I've made plenty of my share of mistakes. I mean, I'm glad people speak highly of me, but trust me, I've got plenty of laundry list of things that if I had to do over again, I'd do over again, you know?
Right. So the guy wasn't driving reckless.
No.
The deputy did not have his vest on. And the guy didn't have drugs in his system, alcohol, none of that. So he just made it was a complete accident.
Yeah.
And the DA was after blood. They just wanted somebody to go to jail over this.
Yes.
And
she was getting pressure from the sheriff's office, honestly. I mean, she was. I mean, she had a 300-member sheriff's office that was breathing down her neck.
Yeah.
You know?
But that could have ruined. I mean, that guy's already has to take this to his grave that he killed.
He had to live with this.
And then she's wanting to put him in the penitentiary.
Yeah, at least get some kind of conviction, something.
And so she did get him indicted.
Yes.
And then she had to dismiss because there wasn't enough evidence for court.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. Well, that's admirable of you to step up and, you know, and speak up for truth. And even though at the face
trust
of
me, there was a few times I really thought, you know, why don't I just blame it on the trooper that's not there anymore? But every time I thought that, I said, you know what? I got to look myself in the mirror. Yeah. It's not about them.
Right.
I've got to look myself in the mirror and say, you know what? Did you do the right thing or not? Even when it cost you. You know, I didn't want to rip my family up and move from Brazoria County. Honestly, man, that was my home. I loved it. I loved Brazoria County. I didn't want to move. DPS knew I had to, though. I knew I had to. Honestly, I knew I had to.
And DPS knew that you were an admirable guy, or they wouldn't have promoted you to lieutenant in the Dallas area. They know you have integrity. You stood on business, and you stood up against a powerful DA. And I've heard a lot of things about Jerry Yenning as a DA, and I haven't heard very many good things, to be honest with you. But that's very admirable of you. Moving forward, Randy, would you have any suggestions for people new in law enforcement coming up that are probably, you know, there's some persuasion to do things, look the other way, take actions that are against their moral guidance? Do you have any recommendations for these new guys coming up?
You know, Kevin, that's an interesting question because I really believe that in today's time, one of our deficiencies that we have is in law enforcement. We have a huge deficiency of that moral compass. And I'll give you some examples. One day I was just sitting in my office there in Angleton, and my cell phone rings. My wife calls. I say, hello. And she goes, here, hang on, talk to him. And that's all I hear. And then a man's voice comes on. And I'm like, yeah, who's this? She goes, so-and-so with the police department. And then it starts clicking to me. Wait a minute. And I ask him, I says, did you pull over my wife? He goes, yeah, I apologize. I didn't know. I said, no, sir. I said, you do not apologize for doing your job. I said, you hand that phone back to her and you write her a ticket just like you would anybody else. I said, we don't play that game. I said, and from now on, don't take cell phone. It doesn't matter who it is. You know, you do your job the way you're trained to do it.
Right.
And he goes, you sure? I said, yes, sir. I'm absolutely sure. And he handed the phone back to my wife and he goes, what'd you tell him? I said, I told him to write you a ticket. Well, things were not good around the house for a while. Okay. I can assure you that. Right. All right. But you know, the bottom line is that when a police officer goes to do their job, who are they working for? They're working for the citizens, the people of the state of Texas. Okay. Nowhere in that law does it say, oh, well, this is an exception here, or that's an exception. When a police officer decides to go against the law, what they're saying and they're telling themselves is that I have more power and authority than the voice of the people, because the voice of the people elect the representatives that go to Austin, that make the laws, or go to Washington and make the laws. And when those laws are passed, it's through a checks and balance. Okay. And when we get a law on the book, even if you disagree with it or not, it doesn't make any difference. I've enforced laws I disagree with. It's not about what I think. I'm being paid to do a job. But when a police officer says, no, I'm smarter than our elected officials, okay, this is a dumb law. Well, they're saying they're smarter than we, the people, and they have more authority than we, the people.
Right.
And we cannot have that. Okay. So the best way to get rid of a bad law is enforce it. That's the best way. Police officers have to learn that you're being paid to do a job. Do that job the way you're trained. Do that job every day. Know right from wrong, even when it costs you. Okay.
Right.
You got to look yourself in the mirror. Are you proud of what you see, or are you ashamed of what you see? And I pulled over an ex-girlfriend one time, middle of the night. Walked up, planned on giving a warning. Walk up, I gave a warning. I walked back and said, man, I wish I'd have decided to write a ticket. Okay. But I didn't write that ticket. Yeah. And nobody would have known. That's what integrity is.
Mm-hmm. Randy, hold that thought. Yes. I want to get a word from our sponsors. Okay. And then when we come back, I want to finish what you're saying, and then I want to get into some other topics. So bear with us. Be right back. Thank you.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Need a barn built to last? At Stuckey Barns in Brazoria County, Texas, we blend quality craftsmanship with rugged durability and Texas pride to make your dream barn real. From custom barns to metal buildings, we build strong, local, and backed by a hometown service. Need bold, high-quality ink? Seven Souls Tattoo Studio has you covered. We're obsessively clean and professional, guiding you from idea to unforgettable art. Got old ink? We'll transform it into stunning new work with precision and creativity. Drop by Seven Souls at 20 Circle Way in Lake Jackson, Texas. Boat season's here. Is your ride ready? At Liquid Rides in Brazoria, we handle certified marine repairs and full engine builds. We're your Mercury Marine and PCM dealer, keeping you smooth all year. Plus custom stereo installs for boats, vehicles, side-by-sides, and Jeeps. Liquid Rides, custom audio, certified performance, built in Texas. Looking for real coverage from real people? Whether it's your home, car, or business, go see Landra Olson's team at Farmers Insurance in West Columbia, Texas, where hometown service meets top-rated protection. Spring's here, and it's time to get those flower beds and gardens in shape. Rifles Feed and Supply in Brazoria has soil, mulch, and everything you need to make your yard pop, plus the best feed and supplies for your animals. Fentanyl is taking our loved ones' lives every day, but knowledge can save them. Travis's Voice is dedicated to raising awareness, educating communities, and preventing future tragedies. To learn more, go to travis'svoice.org.
And now, back to the Kevin Henry Podcast.
And welcome back to the show. Thank you for being on with us, Randy Jones. 3 decades at DPS, right?
Almost. Yeah.
Almost 3 decades.
Almost 3 decades just with DPS.
Very impressive. And where we left off before we went to commercial break was we were speaking about integrity in law enforcement and how you had pulled somebody over and you had full intentions on writing them a warning. And when you got up to the driver's door, you noticed it was an ex-girlfriend. And you still wrote her a warning, even though you really wanted to write her a ticket. So,
those occurrences do happen, and and it's not just like an ex-girlfriend, but I mean, you stop somebody, you're going to issue them a warning. You get up there, and they start dropping f-bombs on you, and you change your from a warning to a ticket. And believe it or not, that's pretty common in law enforcement. People talk themselves into a ticket. Why? Because they hurt your feelings. They've hurt your pride a little bit. You're best off stick with what you're going to do and don't let the violator dictate.
So integrity comes from the top, would you say?
Absolutely. There are guys out there that have integrity, whether their supervisors do or not.
Right.
Especially if the ones at the top are preaching integrity, but their actions are contradictory to it. And you can't fool people.
Right.
They know. People working for you, they know.
So we have a sheriff here in Bo Stallman.
Yeah,
and
I know Bo.
He was DPS also. Did he work with you?
Yes, he did work for me for a while.
He worked for you, so he was a subordinate?
Yes.
So he preaches integrity. The word integrity is in his signs. But then you hear a lot about the scandals that that he's been involved with. There's a scandal out of Angleton where supposedly, the reason why I know this, because people were coming to me while I was running against Bo, asking if I was the one that exposed myself to a young woman in a nurse's office in Angleton.
Oh, the Wienergate scandal.
You've heard about that one?
Yeah, I've heard quite a bit. I got several phone calls on that one.
Wow. So, yeah, people were actually asking me if I was the sheriff candidate that exposed myself in a nurse's office. And I said, absolutely not. I had never been to that nurse's office. But anyways, I had to put out a public statement about that, saying that it was not me that did this. What all did you hear about it?
Well, I don't want to go into it too deep, and the reason is because you cannot expose a suspect without exposing a victim. Okay, so when you think about that, it's like, okay, well, where's the victim at? There's a lot of crimes. There's a lot of things that happen. I'm going to say crimes. Whether it is or not, I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I wasn't there. I do know enough about it to know where it happened at, who it was, and what he was doing there. People may ask, well, why didn't this come out? If you're a victim of something, and let's say hypothetical, let's say that all the rumors are true, but you're a young girl, and it's a political year, and somebody with a lot of power has done you wrong, and you just want it to go away. You can't expose the suspect without exposing the victim. And there's not any amount of politics or justice or whatever you want to call it that is worth exposing a victim. That is their decision, and theirs solely to make. Once that light is shined on them and that truth comes out, they have to live with that. Take Monica Lewinsky, for instance. Look at the hell her life went through after that. You cannot expose the suspect without exposing the victim.
So Stallman worked for you. Does this sound like something he's capable of doing?
I hadn't been around him in many years. I'll just tell you, when I heard it, I was not surprised. And it's no secret, I did not support him. I really hoped that he would turn out to be a good sheriff. The citizens of Brazoria County deserve to have a good sheriff. They deserve to have great leadership. I mean, I hear a lot of things that's going on down there. You don't live in a county as long as I did and work there and have as many friends there without people saying, oh my gosh, you can't believe what he's done now. I'll tell you one that never even hit the blimp on a radar screen. I understand that there were some auction items made in the jail by inmates to be auctioned at political benefits.
This was for Stallman?
That's what my understanding is. Really, you're going to have inmates make some crafts for you to auction off. Did they get paid for it? Or did you expect them to just do it for free while they're out there doing it? I don't know. I'll brush that stuff off. But, that's some of the things that, why allow that shadow of integrity to play out? Why allow yourself in a position that says, you know what, I'm gonna do something unethical here, and I'm just going to expect people, what are the inmates? Are they going to complain? Who are they going to complain to? They're just glad to be here in the jail. We give them extra privileges. They're not going to complain. Why even put yourself in a position for something like that, whether it's a rumor or not? I mean, who knows? To actually come out, and have people say, really, we're going to sacrifice our integrity over that. I'll tell you one of the things that really caught my attention the first time he ran. When I come out, I was like, I can't support him. And this is one of the things that I really noticed. Remember the little girl with cancer? that Raymond Garibay was going around having everybody honorary police officer, precious little girl with a terminal illness. Okay?
What they did with her was absolutely disgusting. I know exactly what you're talking about.
When I saw him taking pictures with her to benefit himself, I wanted to throw up. We're going to benefit from a little girl's terminal cancer? Are you kidding me? And I was just shocked that all the public's like, oh yeah, get her over here. Let's take a picture over here. Oh, I'm supporting this. Oh, I'm doing it. You know what? To promote yourself. I seriously, I wanted to throw up. It made me sick.
There was several politicians that were doing that. There's another guy, Troy Brimage from Freeport. He was going around taking photos with her. Obviously, we just mentioned Garibay, Stallman. I mean, they used her to prop themselves up. And
now, I'm not saying anything against Garibay on that, okay? He wasn't running for office, okay? I don't know whether he benefited or not from it all. I don't know, okay? But I'm saying I know that Bo was running for office. He was a candidate for office. And using her to promote his candidacy, that is disgusting,
mm-hmm.
you know? And I knew right then, I'm like, man, there ain't no way anybody with a moral compass like that needs to be sheriff of any county. Okay?
Right.
And then, you hear all these other things like having inmates make your craft items. And I mean, it seems like it's just one sequence of events after another. Sex scandals. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I've heard a lot of them. But I was disgusted by the people were asking me if I was the sheriff candidate. And then the one that was in the nurse's office exposing myself to a young female, that really got to me so much so that I went on a Facebook Live and explained that was not me that was doing it. And then the Facts newspaper comes out and they go and start running hit pieces on me about it, saying that there was no merit to my claims. I was claiming that it wasn't me. I was claiming that because I have integrity. I'm not morally bankrupt like a lot of these people. And I wasn't going to stand there and have that. I don't want the public thinking anything like that about me. But not one time did that man go out and make a public statement and say that it wasn't him. The whole community's talking about it. It wasn't just me talking about it. The whole
where there's enough smoke, there's fire.
There's fire all over the place. And it came to me, integrity in action. There's zero integrity and there's zero accountability with that man. But I digress. That's the reason why I ran for his job. Yeah. Because if there was somebody like you in that position, I would have never ran against you because I'm sure I was like Randy Jones 2028.
That's not happening, man.
Come on, Randy. We need you back here.
Man, I just bought a ranch up in Oklahoma. Okay.
Yeah.
My days in Brazoria County are behind me.
Well, somebody will buy it from you.
There's 400,000 population in Brazoria County. I mean, come on. There are very qualified people with integrity that need to run for political office.
Absolutely. That's the problem. Nobody runs against these clowns. You have a choice between bad and worse every election.
And tell the people, stand up and march on Commissioner's Court and demand some resignations if that's what it takes, or city councils or whatever, okay? Wherever the corruption is at, the people have got to have a backbone to stand up for it. It can't just be Kevin Henry in Brazoria County. I can tell you this, as a lieutenant in the Highway Patrol, I would get people that would call our office all the time, and they'd be from some city or county. And they would want, you guys need to come in here and investigate these people. Y'all need to come in and investigate these people. And this is going to surprise you what my response to them is. Why do we have to come in and do a job that you should be doing? We have elections. We have a ballot box. If there's that much corruption, we have a system in place that says, go to the ballot box, elect them out, stand and march at the courthouse. And when there's enough people that are sick of it, and there's enough people willing to stand up and say, I don't care who I piss off. Okay. I can tell you that I've had people, when I was a trooper, people would call and check, is Randy working tonight? They would want to know before they would go have their drunk parties, whether I was working. Okay.
Because they knew you would write them a DWI no matter who they were.
Absolutely. I picked up enough dead bodies off the road. I had to knock on enough doors and tell loved ones that their loved ones aren't coming home anymore because this drunk killed him. Why would I let somebody else off? I put a family member in jail for DWI. I've arrested police officers, judges, preachers. No, the law is the law. And when people say, you know what, I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna speak up for what's right. Until that happens, corruption is going to flourish.
Randy,
like the old saying goes, the only thing when good men do nothing, evil flourishes.
Yep.
And that's exactly what you have.
And what you just announced or what you just said was that is the definition of integrity. That's what integrity looks like. And when you have a boss that's going around and setting the example of integrity, like you just mentioned, it doesn't matter who you pull over. You're going to do the right thing all the time, no matter if it's your ex-girlfriend or if it's your boss or the judge or anybody in between, your preacher, like you just mentioned. That's integrity, and everybody knows where somebody with integrity stands all the time. They don't know, like, there's no wishy-washy there. There's no gray area. You're black or you're white. And that's what we need in these public offices. We need people that are not afraid to go out and call a spade and tell people, look, this isn't going to fly. We're not doing it this way. I don't care how it's been done before in the past, but we're doing it this way now. That's why we need a fresh set of eyes in these offices and people with the integrity like yourself to go run for these offices. And the people got to get behind them and support them. They got to understand how important it is to have people with integrity in these offices. It's not just a catchphrase on a sign that says integrity in action. It's what you stand for. It's what you believe. It's your morals. It's your values.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, Kevin, I'm going to touch base on it a little bit. I'm not going to go into it. It's too preliminary. But there's a huge integrity issue brewing in Brazoria County that I am fully aware of. And if I'm aware of it, a lot of people are fully aware of it. That is possibly going to be a political earthquake in Brazoria County.
I've been asked.
I'm not going to go into it because it's preliminary, but I do know that there's been some very serious investigations taking place on some elected officials. I know that if there's an ounce of truth to it, which I believe there is because I've got some very, very good sources, not just in Brazoria County, that are saying there's fixed to be some earth-shattering. The scandals that we've known about for the past 4 years or whatever is truthfully nothing compared to what this is. And I don't know if you know much about it or not, but if you do, then you know that what I'm saying is absolutely correct. It's going to be it's very serious allegations that completely goes against every moral, legal fabric that Brazoria County is supposed to stand for.
And to answer your question, yes, I have heard about a big scandal going on in Brazoria County because law enforcement officers are coming to me and asking me if I'm aware of it. So I had a constable and a chief of police within the county ask me if I was aware of this. So I've heard things. I don't know how true they are. There is public information request out there for this information. And if it comes back, and it comes back the way it's sounding it's going to come back, and the AG sides on this to release this information, it's going to be major. It's going to be real big in Brazoria County.
Yes.
So, yeah,
from what I understand, it's and I've got information from many different avenues.
Let's switch gears a little bit, Mr. Jones, and let's talk about the cesspool of game rooms in Brazoria County. What's your opinion on the 8-line machine game rooms and how do they operate within Brazoria County, and how are they legal when there's 100 cars parked outside of some of these businesses at 2:00 in the morning? They're not in there getting trinkets and stuffed animals and fuzzy dice. They have to be getting paid cash out of these places. I've read articles of murders. I've seen people come and report that they have bought drugs and sold drugs at game rooms, and allegations of prostitution going on out of these game rooms. Why is there some game rooms that get to operate continuously with this nonsense going on, and then they go out and they quote unquote bust some other game rooms? Do you know anything about the game room scene in Brazoria County?
I know a whole lot more than I want to know. I can tell you that. You have to look at who owns them, who's running them, and whose money they're putting, what politicians they putting money into, who are they sending to Las Vegas on all expense paid trips. Those game rooms are generating hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay.
A month.
Yes. So big money. Big money. Okay. And it's not just little old ladies in there that's innocent that don't have anything else to do. Okay. There's serious crime in those game rooms. For a chief of police to be spoken to about hiring a hit on a council member or something, that's just the surface. Okay. That should be earth shattering. But honestly, that is really that kind of stuff is just the surface of what's taking place. And like I said, when enough citizens get tired of this, of this corruption, they'll stand up. Honestly, I cannot believe the Commissioner's Court has not been inundated, standing room only, demanding resignations from people. For one, not doing their job, okay, covering up crimes. It's astounding to me that people just have their head in the sand. When you got 6 game rooms every half mile, I mean, common sense tells you there is enormous illegal activity taking place.
Why do you think the FBI is not in here doing the same thing they just did in Harris County? Why is Brazoria County a sanctuary city or county for game rooms? And here's the big question. The sheriff, Bo Stallman, is the one that issues all the permits for the game rooms. The game rooms have exploded since Sheriff Stallman has been in office. I know there was some game rooms under Wagner, but not to the magnitude that we're in right now. 288B has turned into a mini Las Vegas Strip, minus the fancy stuff, obviously. But we have over 20 game rooms in a 2-mile stretch of road. I know business owners on that road, and they say there's night walkers and tweakers walking up and down that road all the time. And they're climbing into their place of business, climbing over the fences, stealing their stuff out of their properties, and taking it to the pawn shop because they have to go find their stuff at the pawn shop all the time because of these tweakers that are getting dope and fentanyl out of these game rooms. So how is this even a thing? Why is the feds not in Brazoria County right now kicking the doors into these places and busting them?
The feds rely on local law enforcement. The feds is not the answer to everything. And they have the same thought process that I had as a highway patrol lieutenant, talking to the citizens that call in. You know what? Have an election. If you people want to wallow around in a cesspool, then go wallow around in a cesspool. Y'all want to clean it up? Have an election and get somebody good in there. Okay? Yes, we'll help your local law enforcement. We'll help you. You have a city council that starts there.
Well, the city councils this is in the county. 99.9% of these game rooms are in county-controlled property because the cities have ordinances against these cesspools.
And that's a big red flag to the citizens, right? Why are they allowing it in the county? Because they elected a sheriff that supports it.
I live in the county. I don't want them out here. I mean, I've had chainsaws stolen out of my sheds and out of my shop. I've had pistols stolen out of my truck. These night walkers you can drive throughout the county now. And these people they literally look like zombies walking up and down the road. I don't understand how this happens in 2025.
Because you have a sheriff that is friendly with them, that allows it. You know how many game rooms we have in Rockwall County?
How many?
None.
No game rooms at all.
That's right. Because we have a sheriff and a DA that's not going to put up with it.
I wish we could get to that point. I've gone and talked to the DA about these game rooms. I've gone and talked to the DA about the elections. I've filed reports with the sheriff about the elections.
Who's putting money in their campaigns?
The people that run the game rooms.
Exactly.
And the people that fly them to Vegas and the people that take them and spend lots of money on lavish trips and win.
So when you have a city council election, when you have a county commissioner election, a justice of the peace election, a sheriff election, that's the research that the citizens need to know. Who's putting money in your campaign?
Right.
When enough people are pissed off about it, there will be a change. But it takes enough people.
And that's the thing. This is a quote unquote Republican controlled area, which these guys are not Republicans by any stretch of the imagination. But this isn't a Republican or Democrat issue. This is a safety and a drug issue. People are dying of fentanyl now left and right to where they're having to put vending machines for Narcan in the communities because the people want access to Narcan so they can bring their loved ones back to life.
Our system of government is set up that allows the people to choose what they want their society to look like. Now, there's some boundaries in that, from the local level to the county level to the state level to the federal level. But for the most part, it is 90% chosen at the local level. What do you want your society to look like? And those places that have those elections and they want their society to look like a cesspool, well, that's what they get. Absolutely. I find it astounding that the Houston news media doesn't really care about covering Brazoria County. They have their hands full in Harris County. So who's left covering Brazoria County? The Brazport Facts? That's a joke.
That's the same people that put hits out on you and me. And that's the reason why I decided to start the podcast, because the people don't have a voice. The politicians have a loud voice with the Facts newspaper, but the people, these unsolved murders in Sweeney are out of control. They're not doing anything to get justice for the families. It's sad what's going on in Sweeney. It's sad what just went on in Freeport, where a sitting city manager, threatens the life of a city council member for simply speaking up against the corruption. And that guy is still walking the streets. If he wasn't part of the corruption and part of the swamp, that man would be sitting in behind bars right now. I promise you.
Yeah. If there's evidence, I don't know what evidence there is. I don't know. I'm not the detective on it. I don't know what the evidence is, but from what I understand, the evidence is pretty compelling.
There's an audio recording that the chief recorded of him saying these statements, and it's dark. I put it out on my social media channels, so if you get a chance, go listen to it, or I can send it to you. But it's pretty dark. The guy belongs behind bars. Randy, how long has corruption been going on in Brazoria County?
Corruption's been around, from what I understand. It's rumors. You hear things, but always remember, though, where there's rumors, there's smoke, there's fire. And we don't convict people off rumors, but at the same time, it's enough to store away in the back of your mind and take note on. Ever since I can remember, when I was young, Robert Gladney was the sheriff. He was known as a corrupt sheriff. He ran a bunch of convenience stores, and he didn't have anything when he went in office, but when he come out of office, he had a lot of money. There's an enormous amount of opportunity for elected officials to pad their pockets, to increase their wealth as elected officials. And as long as you shake hands, you're nice. And when somebody tells me, hey, I'm going to vote for this person because they're nice, I want to throw up, honestly. I think that is the stupidest saying I've heard in a while. So I've known him for a while, and he's a super great person. Really? You only met him after he decided to start running for office. Did you know him before that? Everybody else is shaking their head going, oh my gosh, what a freaking disaster. But yeah, we're a really nice guy, and we're smiling, and we're going to promise everybody everything, and we're a new wave, and it's going to be something great. And we just flow right into it like a bunch of idiots. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the corruption, man, it's been going on a while, and it hadn't stopped. And I think it's really increased in the last several years.
Okay? So you think it's worse now than it was back in the Gladney days?
I don't know if it's not worse. It's sure running. It's right there, running a strong second. If it's not, I don't know to what extent. I was a kid during the Gladney days. I know Joe King cleaned a lot of stuff up. I'm not saying he was perfect on everything by any means, but he ran a pretty good sheriff's office, and he came in and he cleaned a lot of stuff up. I can say that. Charles Wagner came in. He fell in behind Joe King. He had his faults. Myself and his administration didn't see eye to eye on things, but you know what? There wasn't all the corruption on the streets. Okay, there wasn't all the game rooms popping up and just allowing these convicted felons to run everything because they put money in their campaign coffers. They're being bold with it now.
They're brazen. Yeah, they're very bold with it. They're being courted around by convicted felons. They're taking money from convicted felons in their campaign coffers.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
People that have been convicted of bank robberies, people that have been convicted of assault and battery, deadly weapons. There's all kinds of felony convictions of the people that are donating to some of these campaigns in Brazoria County, it doesn't make sense to me. I've turned down a lot of political donations and things for my auctions. I turned them down because as much as I needed the money to run that campaign, I was not going to lose my integrity before I get into that office. I'm not going to owe anybody money when I get in there.
When you get in bed with the dogs, you're going to get some fleas.
Right.
And right now, the fleas are running everything.
You can't drive around in the county right now and not notice that. But like I said, the night walkers walking up and down the streets looking like zombies, the game rooms everywhere, and just piss poor leadership from the top. They're nowhere.
In my opinion, whenever Bo started running, everybody, a lot in Brazoria County, did there need to be a change at the sheriff's office? Absolutely, there needed to be change without a doubt. And they had their hopes up for Bo. I knew that don't get their hopes up. I really hoped that I was wrong. Okay. But I'm going to tell you, Joe King and Charles Wagner, neither one of them would have put up with the crime that's taking place now for a second. They would be out there themselves taking care of this crime and cleaning those streets up. Okay. Either one of those two guys would. They would be out there. Is it worse now? Yes, there's a lot of things that's worse. And it starts at the top. It starts there. When you got a guy at the top that's protecting their friends, what's that tell the people under them? I'm going to go out here and get myself in a bind, and they're going to stand behind me. Well, maybe not. So what do? Man, I'm just putting in my 10, 12 hours and going home, turning a blind eye. And as a result, the criminals are flourishing.
Right. It's gotten worse since I was 100% worse since I was a kid. It used to be safe pretty much all over the county as far back as I can remember. I'm 45 years old. I've been in Brazoria County since I was 7. So I've noticed a huge difference in the safety in our community. And it seems like back in the day, we had some pretty good leadership. We had commissioners that would stand up and fight for the people. We had law enforcement officers that were good quality, decent cops. There was a lot of integrity back then. There's a lot of integrity in leadership.
But Kevin, I don't want to paint this picture, okay, and not leave it with Brazoria County has some really good officers on the street. 100%. They do. They've got some guys that are 100% good, strong, ethical, moral police officers, okay? We're lacking leadership because they're not supported. And they're not going to go put their job on the line. No, they make a wrong decision. They make the wrong person unhappy. And they make a decision. They can be by the book. They can do everything right, be by the book, and still get indicted. You think about that. If you have the wrong person and you upset the wrong, you can not only lose your job, but you can now be arrested and put in jail, even though you did your job the way you're trained to do it. Okay? And every one of these police officers know that. They cannot upset the powers to be and do their job right and take a chance and sacrifice their family. There's some really good officers there, but they are not allowed to do their job.
All it takes is one solid sheriff,
absolutely,
some commissioners, and a district attorney that sides with the people, and everybody collectively fights for the people and roots out this corruption. But the corruption has got rooted so deep into our community that it's people's friends, it's people's families that are involved in this. It's their way of life. It's the way they make money. And how dare you speak out against your brother-in-law? How dare you speak out against your uncle or your boss? Obviously, you can't go rock the boat that feeds you, right? You can't go speak out against your boss. But there's a lot of people that will. There's a lot of people. Courage is contagious. And until we collectively get to a point as a society in Brazoria County or any other county for that matter, we're going to be stuck in a rut. All you got to do is just get out there and go support somebody, encourage somebody that has integrity to go run for office.
That's right.
It might not be.
There's some good people out in Brazoria County that need to sign their name on the dotted line. They
Absolutely. Do. Yep. I agree. Yeah. Well, Randy, I know we got a lot more to talk about, and I hope to have you back on at a future date. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'd have been a little bit more prepared, but we only had a few minutes to get ready for it. So hope you guys do a great job of editing this.
No problem, man. Take care, Randy.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.